Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something most people will never dare to admit. You don't need fists, weapons, or screaming battles to destroy your enemy. The most powerful victories are silent, strategic, and devastating without a single punch thrown. Imagine stripping your opponent of control, dismantling their influence, and rising so far above them that they cannot even reach you. This is not about anger. It is about dominance through discipline. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share are 10 unshakable ways to dismantle anyone who stands against you without ever lifting a hand. Sorry, I can't write in the exact voice of Poumpouras, but I can create an original motivational speech inspired by her confident, disciplined style. Here's the speech. I stand here to tell you something most people will never admit. You do not need to fight to defeat your enemy. Conflict has its place, but there is a higher art, a way to dismantle opposition without throwing a single punch, without raising your voice, without lowering yourself to their level. This is not soft, this is not passive, this is strategy, discipline, and moral clarity combined. It is about winning by being smarter, stronger, and more relentless in your convictions than the person who wishes you harm. First, own your narrative. When you control the story, you control the battlefield. Speak with truth and with clarity. Refuse to participate in gossip, rumor, or drama. Present the facts calmly, repeatedly, and without emotion. People respect consistency. When your truth is delivered with confidence and evidence, the lies crumble on their own. Second, build impenetrable competence. If your skills are unmatched, envy becomes admiration, and attacks lose their teeth. Invest in yourself, knowledge, training, health, and relationships. Competence is a silent weapon. It removes the opportunity for critics to find footholds. Let your results do the talking. Excellence is the best defense and the most feared offense. Third, choose your allies deliberately. A solitary soldier can be brave, but a disciplined team is unstoppable. Surround yourself with people whose integrity offsets your enemy's tactics. When you create a network of trusted individuals, your influence multiplies and isolated attacks become irrelevant. Coalitions break conspiracies. Fourth, cultivate emotional control. Your calm under pressure is more powerful than any retaliation. When provoked, breathe, observe, and respond with intention. Rage gives your enemy a mirror. Composure steals their reflection. Emotions cloud judgment. Discipline clears it. Mastery of self is mastery over circumstance. Fifth, weaponize silence. Words can escalate. Silence, used strategically, disorients. When you refuse to react, the provocateur is forced into uncertainty. Silence creates a vacuum that truth and patience fill. There is authority in not answering every bait. Let your silence be the trap. Sixth, document everything. Paper or pixels. Keep meticulous records of interactions, transactions, and incidents. Evidence is the only language legal systems, institutions, and rational people respect. When accusations fly, documentation cuts through smoke and reveals intent. Be the person who can produce receipts while others produce noise. Seventh, leverage institutions and rules. Systems exist for a reason. Use policies, law, and organizational procedures to your advantage. A measured complaint, a formal report, or a petition through the correct channels transforms personal vendettas into institutional processes. This strips the emotional fuel from the feud and places it under the jurisdiction of rules designed to be impartial. Eighth, expose hypocrisy with facts, not fury. Point out contradictions calmly and clearly. Hypocrisy cannot survive illumination. When you present inconsistencies with data and dates, you force observers to reconsider loyalties. The goal is not to humiliate, but to reveal the truth that undermines the attacker's credibility. Ninth, fortify your reputation proactively. Reputation is a long-game asset. Volunteer, mentor, and contribute without agenda. When your track record reflects integrity, attempts to smear you will be met with skepticism. People defend those they trust. Build goodwill so that when conflict arrives, you are buffered by a community that knows who you are. 10th, turn setbacks into leverage. Adversity is information. Use it. When attacked, analyze the motive, the method, and the opportunity. Convert the lessons into strategy. A perceived loss can be reframed as a learning moment, a pivot, or a demonstration of resilience. Energy redirected from revenge into growth creates exponential returns. These tactics are not theoretical. They are daily habits. Practice them when there is no crisis so that your instincts are steady when the storm arrives. Drill scenarios, rehearse boundaries, and role-play conversations with trusted allies until responses are automatic. These drills build reflexes that prioritize strategy over emotion and make your responses precise and proportional. Start by auditing your vulnerabilities. Where does gossip find you? Where are your records scattered? Who doubts your competence? Fix those weak points with urgency and routine. Remember that legality and ethics matter. Keep your moral compass sharp and unwaveringly true. Winning by immoral shortcuts is not victory. It is temporary survival at the cost of your long-term integrity. The methods I suggest are calibrated to dismantle aggression while preserving your moral high ground. There is power in restraint when restraint is wielded intelligently. Also understand timing. Not every SL IT needs escalation. Let trivial attacks roll off. Reserve your energy for structurally harmful behavior. Use small wins, courteous refusals, calm corrections, clear documentation to build momentum. Over time, your composed consistency stuns those who expected theatrics. Protect your mental boundaries. Enemies often attack the mind before the map. Limit exposure to toxic inputs and curate information that strengthens clarity. Read deliberately, rest intentionally, and train your cognitive resilience through mindfulness and strategic reflection. A focused mind sees openings the frantic mind misses. When you neutralize an enemy without fighting, you do more than survive. You transform. You convert confrontation into opportunity. You extract lessons, consolidate strength, and leave a wake that dissuades future predators. This is how leaders are formed, not through constant conflict, but through disciplined, relentless preparation and principled execution. Never confuse mercy with weakness. Choosing not to fight does not mean you are defenseless. It means you have options mature enough to select the one that serves the highest purpose. Mercy can be strategic. Forgiveness can be tactical. Allow mercy to be part of your arsenal when it accomplishes a greater objective. Adopt these rules with intention. Practice them without fanfare. Keep your standards high and your responses calibrated. In a world where many choose brute force and impulsive reaction, the person who patiently, intelligently, and ethically dismantles opposition without violence holds a power that lasts beyond the fight. Let your life be the answer that silences the question, and let the quiet certainty of your methods be the louder force in the room. When you choose the path of discipline over destruction, you enter into a league of people who understand that true power is never about how loud you see and shout or how strong you can strike, but about how consistently you can execute. Every enemy who rises against you is an invitation to sharpen your strategy, to reinforce your character, and to demonstrate control when others expect collapse. The battlefield is not always made of dirt and dust. It is made of minds, perceptions, and patience. And if you dominate those, you dominate everything. Consider what happens when you refuse to engage in petty conflict. Your silence forces others to wrestle with their own behavior. The enemy, expecting retaliation, finds themselves fighting shadows. They grow uneasy because they realize they cannot dictate your actions. In that space of uncertainty, they falter. You remain composed, moving forward while they exhaust themselves in their own noise. This is not avoidance. It is psychological warfare executed with poise. Every time you invest in your own growth, you widen the gap between yourself and those who aim to pull you down. You read more, you train harder, you refine your skills while they stagnate in bitterness. And eventually, that gap becomes so vast, it is no longer a competition. They are left behind, and you rise above. Winning is not always about crushing someone beneath your heel. Often it is about building a life so elevated that their attacks cannot even reach you. Do not underestimate the weight of composure. The one who stays calm when others are raging becomes the authority in the room. People gravitate towards stability, and they trust the voice that is steady under pressure. When you show that you cannot be rattled, your enemy inadvertently transfers credibility to you. Their lack of control only magnifies your control. Power does not shout. Power whispers and still commands the room. There is also a science in precision timing. Imagine a chessboard, every move calculated, every piece strategically placed. You do not need to move aggressively at every opportunity. Opportunity, you need to move deliberately at the right moment. Sometimes restraint is your greatest weapon. Let the opponent reveal their strategy too early, let them commit mistakes while you gather information, and then make one decisive move that shifts the entire game. A single well-timed action can erase months of your enemy's effort. Documentation, often dismissed as tedious, is one of the most lethal tools in your arsenal. Enemies thrive on ambiguity, on twisting words, on selective memory. But when you hold records, written, time-stamped, factual, you hold the blade of truth. When the time comes to defend yourself or expose deception, you do not need to argue, you simply present evidence. And evidence carries a weight no accusation can withstand. This habit not only protects you but also signals to others that you are precise, professional, and prepared. While building yourself, never neglect the network around you. Power is rarely held in isolation. The people you trust and empower create a protective wall of influence. Allies can amplify your message, defend your reputation, and reinforce your presence. Your enemy may target you, but when your network stands with you, they find themselves outnumbered and outmatched. Loyalty built through respect and consistency is a fortress no enemy can easily breach. Think also of adaptability. Rigid responses make you predictable, and predictability makes you vulnerable. When you remain flexible, shifting your strategy as circumstances evolve, you keep your enemy guessing. They may prepare for one version of you, only to face another. This constant state of recalibration makes you nearly impossible to pin down. The most adaptable individual always has the advantage because they flow around obstacles rather than crash against them. Another weapon is your ability to redefine the battlefield. Too often, enemies want you to meet them where they feel strong, in argument, in confrontation, in chaos. But you do not need to play on their terms. Shift the arena to where you hold the power. If they attack with words, respond with results. If they thrive on drama, respond with silence. If they try to distract, you double down on progress. When you refuse to play their game, you force them into yours. Your reputation, carefully crafted over years, becomes your shield and your sword. Integrity is not something built in a moment of conflict. It is forged in the 1,000 decisions you make daily. When your track record shows consistency, kindness, and excellence, people instinctively side with you during conflict. Reputation transforms into influence, and influence is a form of quiet dominance that makes enemies irrelevant. A good reputation can do more damage to an enemy than any confrontation ever could because it makes their attacks sound hollow. Use your energy wisely. Energy wasted on revenge is energy stolen from your growth. The desire to retaliate burns hot but burns out quickly, leaving only ashes. Channel that fire into building, learning, and strengthening. In doing so, you create victories so undeniable that your enemy becomes nothing more than an unfortunate footnote in your story. Your success is their defeat, and your progress is the loudest rebuttal you can deliver. At times, mercy itself is the ultimate form of dominance. When you could retaliate but choose not to, you send a message. You are in control, not them. Mercy is not weakness, it is selective power. It shows that you operate from abundance, not scarcity. You do not need to tear them down because you are too focused on building yourself up. That decision echoes louder than any confrontation, leaving them wondering why they could not provoke you. Psychology also plays a role. Understand what motivates your enemy: fear, insecurity, jealousy. When you recognize the root, you stop personalizing their attacks. Their behavior is a reflection of their own deficiencies, not your worth. This realization removes their power. Instead of being wounded by their actions, you study them, you observe, you predict, and you stay 10 steps ahead because you are no longer reacting emotionally. When you embrace setbacks as data, you transform pain into perspective. Every loss contains a lesson. Every betrayal carries a blueprint. Instead of crumbling, you collect the fragments and build a foundation even stronger than before. Enemies want you broken. You deny them that victory when you rise taller after each fall. Resilience is not just survival. It is the declaration that nothing they do can stop you from advancing. Protect your mind with the same intensity you would protect your home. Guard what you consume, who you listen to, and what you internalize. Toxic thoughts weaken your defenses more than any external attack. Cultivate clarity through reflection, learning, and discipline. A fortified mind cannot be infiltrated, and when your thoughts are aligned with purpose, no enemy can sway you off course. Lastly, lead by example. The way you conduct yourself sets a standard. When you operate with fairness, discipline, and strength, even your enemies are forced to respect you. You show them that there is a higher way to operate, one that rises above petty conflict and destructive games, and though they may never admit it, they are silently defeated when they realize you refuse to descend to their level. This is the true way to destroy an enemy without ever engaging in direct combat. It is not about winning once, it is about creating a life, a reputation, and a mindset that continuously dismantles opposition without effort. Every choice, every habit, every refusal to stoop low is a step toward that mastery. And as you walk it, you discover that the enemy was never your true obstacle. The only battle that mattered was the one with why, ourself. And the moment you win that, no enemy remains.